Good morning, good day, and good evening. I'm, as always, your host, Brew Robertson, and today we have a very interesting episode. Today we have someone involved in a project that I feel like most people probably are aware of, but may not think about that often. Today, how about you introduce yourself? We have someone involved in printing. Very important thing.
Yes, I'm Till Kamppeter. Good morning, Brody. I know you are down under, 13,000 kilometers under me, and uh, and I'm leading OpenPrinting. I'm doing this since I'm working with printing since mid 2000. So it's 25 years that I'm working on it and taking care that printing just works in Linux, POSIX style operating systems, and free software in general.
So I guess the best place to start is what is the Open Printing organization?
Yes, the Open Printing organization is doing a lot of different things to make printing just work. In mainly, we are hosting the printing stack, the software stack for printing in free software, where the main part is cups. This is the actual print environment. This is the daemon which gets the print jobs from the applications and passes the print jobs onto the printers and converts the data as needed. And then we have other repositories. We have cups filters. These are filters so that their data can be converted. And we have common print dialog backend, so that the backend, that the dialog print dialogs, the windows from which you control the printing in a desktop application, can communicate with print environments, mainly cups. And we also have we also have other software like IPP over USB, so that modern USB printers can also be communicated with driverlessly and many other things. And another thing is we are also working together with the Printer Working Group, which is an industry association of printer and software industry, creating standards for printing, mainly the Internet Printing Protocol, IPP, which is also the protocol which makes the base for cups already since the beginning. And it's also the protocol which makes the base for driverless printing. Any modern printer understands IPP. And this comes from the printer working groups. They are actively developing on it. We have also annual meetings with them, and so one part of our software development effort is to make to turn these standards into free software, so that they are implemented for free software. And we also where we were more active formally, but nowadays less due to the driverless printing, is that we have communicated with printer manufacturers because of the drivers. Also help them how to develop drivers correctly. Ask them that it's important that the drivers need to be free software and open source, so that they can easily be put into distributions. And we also and as printing is not very attractive volunteer developers. If you're a volunteer developer and looking through the ecosystem of free software, you would much more easily do some desktop applications,
Right, it's a lot
gaming
more
or something
visible.
like that.
Right.
And yes, and not printing. And so we are very, very much engaged in the Google Summer of Code. And with this, we are building our community. We are even currently, but because most came of India, doing an annual conference in India, the Opportunity Open Source. And
That's
it's not
awesome.
only about printing, it's about free software in general, but it also helps us to get more people to open printing.
So you've spoken a number of times there about driverless printers. I don't really know much about how printers actually work. So how how does this differ? Where you have, I guess, older printers that require their own drivers, but modern ones don't. Like, what's the deal here?
Yes, it's really more or less like this. In former times, there were also some standards, like especially PostScript and also PCL, but mostly, especially the cheaper printers, to not need the compute intensive PostScript or PCL, they created all their own data protocols for for the printer. The printers also, to be cheap, they did not handle fonts and so they only got raster data from the computer, and the building of the page with fonts and so on, the manufacturers left to the computer, as the computer can build the pages on the screen. And so they they published drivers for Windows and Mac, which were simply programs which generated the raster data which the printer needed.
Right.
Only the printers of different manufacturers had different raster data protocols, and also the manufacturers did not publish these protocols. They just sold the printer with Windows and Mac drivers, which were closed source. And so people had to reverse engineer the drivers. So they printed under Windows into a file to get in the file the data format. And then they tried to understand the format and to resample the format with a self-written program for Linux as free software. And this often students did because they had no money, and so they had only their $30 cheapo printer and wanted to make this work under Linux, and so they wrote these drivers. And so in the beginning of my time, I was collecting these drivers and taking care that they were all working with cups. And therefore, we have the printer driver database, Fumatic, on OpenPrinting, which lists all the printers, how well they work with Linux, with which drivers, and also the database contains the command line for the drivers, as the drivers are all done by different persons. They are sometimes little filters which convert a generic raster format generated by GhostScript into the printer's actual format. It was easier to integrate them in distributions, as a distribution could simply add a package for that. But there were also very many drivers which were a piece where a third party, some student or so, created a piece of GhostScript code which one has to add to GhostScript and to build into GhostScript. One has to recompile GhostScript to add this driver, like from the times when we had no kernel modules yet, in the beginning of the kernel, when one had to recompile the whole kernel to add a driver. And so I had to take care that I was also in the beginning from 2000 to 2006 responsible for the printing stack in Mandrake Linux. I had to take care that the distro contained all these extras. So the GhostScript package had tons of patches with all these extra code pieces
And I'm sure that created a lot of maintenance
yes.
challenges.
Yes. This was really a maintenance nightmare in the beginning of my work. And it got better when back in 2007,
Mhm.
the Ghost script upstream made GhostScript fully free software. Their current master branch got free software. Before, the master branch was non-free. I think the source was available, but it was not free software.
Mhm.
And they had GNU GhostScript branch, which was free software. And so Michael Sweet also made his own ESP GhostScript. Michael Sweet is the author of CUPS, by the way.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yes, later on I will tell about the history. And so Ghost, then we had Ghost. Then we had these different flavors of GhostScript, and when in 2008 the upstream developers of GhostScript Artifacts made the master branch free software,
Mhm.
then I did the grand unified GhostScript. I put all these little drivers into the upstream GhostScript.
Mhm.
I improved the build system that one had the standard configure, make, install, and such things. I did a lot of changes on GhostScript, and after that we had then one GhostScript for everyone.
Mhm. Mhm. So, what is the difference then with, I believe you said it was IPP.
Yes, the Internet Printing Protocol.
So, is this like a standardized approach of handling printing then? Is that what's changed now?
Yes. It's a standard communication protocol for printing. Michael Sweet and some other people
Mhm.
have created it back in the late 90s. And with this, Michael Sweet has also created CUPS.
Mhm.
CUPS, this is an abbreviation. It means Common Unix Printing System. In
Mhm.
the late 90s, Linux was a niche, and we had the workstations with commercial Unix operating systems
Mhm.
like IRIX, Digital Unix, Solaris, and so on.
Mhm.
And Mike has written a printing system which was supposed to make printing easier on all these systems. So
Mhm.
not also Linux naturally, but also all these commercial Unixes.
Mhm.
And therefore common Unix printing system. And I was system administrator, so I had in the late 90s, so I had to do with these Unixes also.
Mhm. Mhm.
And but I learned about Mike and Cups only in the year 2000 when Mike was releasing the 1.0. In in the late 90s, from 1997 to 2000, I did my PhD thesis in physics and theoretical physics. And the
Wow.
theoretical physics department had several workstations. They did not work with Windows. Windows was only in the secretary room.
Mhm.
In all the other in the department for doing physics, we had Unix workstations, SGI IRIX,
Ah, yep.
and yes, I don't know whether you are old enough for that.
Oh no, I'm
And
I'm 27, but I'm aware of Unix history.
yes, yes, and then is yes, I'm born 1970. I'm 55, and then there was digital Unix,
Mhm.
but these workstations were expensive. There were some in the department and some of the offices, but not every office had a workstation. Some had a terminal, an X terminal. So one could use graphical applications running on the workstations and displaying on the X terminal. The terminal itself was running X window, and the windows from the workstations were forwarded to there. This also can be done nowadays with x.org, but nearly nobody does it anymore nowadays. And I don't know whether it's also possible with Wayland. I think not. And
X11 style forwarding, no. You can do it with X-Wayland because X-Wayland is a full X11 server. But nowadays, if you want to do something like that, you would generally rely on VNC or RDP for like a full desktop internet thing.
yes. And so we had these terminals, and we had even some workplaces or a room with some workplaces without screen, or a room with 2 persons in it, but only 1 screen. And so we did not have a screen workplace for everyone individually. And so in 1997, when I started to be system administrator, my first task was to put up PCs in the rooms and to install Linux on them. As then you have computers where you can do things locally, but you have also X so that you can use graphical applications running on the workstations. So, and the operating system was SUSE 5.1, and we had it as a package of CDs, which you can buy in stores.
I can find a picture of the CD. Oh, there we go.
Yes. So you get something like 4 or 5 CDs and a manual. And so then I have installed Linux on these PCs. It was not as easy as it was nowadays, as there were many pieces of hardware which did not work with Linux. So it meant also that we had to buy some hardware, some graphics cards or so, and to change them in the PCs to make this work. And so this way I introduced Linux to the network. So we had then a Linux, SGI, and Digital Unix, SGI IRIX. And so I put Linux into the landscape. And the pointing, we were still in the dark years of LPD. And LPD is the line pointer daemon. And it's what a line pointer is. A line pointer is a pointer which has fixed letters to point only text.
Okay.
Like a typewriter, only with several rows of letters to point a line at once, and so being faster. But they could only point a grid of text, like a typewriter. And for this, the line pointer daemon was designed, and so there was nothing with paper trace and duplex and resolution and high and low quality, and so the line pointer daemon only has taken care to carry the text over to the printer. And there were also some PostScript printers, and then the free software developers started with small thingies like MagicFilter or so to control that GhostScript is put into the line. And yes, or for the non-PostScript printer for the PostScript printers, even not GhostScript. And for the for the PostScript printers, one had in the client to take care to send PostScript. And as this was the first standard protocol for printers, and therefore graphical applications in that time have sent PostScript to the printing system. And then the MagicFilter and so, which I mentioned, this was that it puts GhostScript in the line to turn PostScript into other protocols like PCL or so, or also for integrating the little drivers I talked in the beginning
Before we go too far
about.
on from that, can you just explain what PostScript is?
Yes. PostScript is a so-called page description language. It's a language, so a protocol, which is created to describe what you can see on a page, on a printable page, like in a book or like in a catalog, an advertising folder, also like in a magazine and so on. So also with color and pictures and so on, not only text, and with free placement of all the elements, with free choice of fonts and font sizes, font directions, and so on, so that you can do everything which you usually see in magazines and catalogs and flyers and so on. And PostScript was created by Adobe, and they have made it like as a Turing complete programming language. This means that it was not only a row of fixed instructions, put this letter there, put this letter there, but it was really a programming language. So if you wanted to put 10 letters there, you could write a loop and variables so that the 10 letters are not put on top of each other and so on. And this could be really abused. For example, that people write a chess program and then they play chess against their printer, or they write a program which only 800 bytes, and the printer needs 5 minutes of thinking before it starts printing, but then you get nice ray tracing graphics on your paper. But on the
I think
other
what you're
side,
saying
it
is you
could be
could play Doom
abused.
on a printer like this.
Yes, yes. But to play Doom, I recommend to try it only on a printer which does at least 24 pages per second, so that you have fluent graphics. And it's not environmental friendly.
No, definitely not.
And
It's definitely not cheap either.
yes. Then better try to install Doom on a dishwasher and not on a printer. And then then one could theoretically or also even program malware.
Right.
I do not know about any exploit which happens, but it is an attack vector. And yes, that's PostScript, and it was the standard. When I was system administrator, this was the standard. So all the applications have sent PostScript, and the printing system, LPD in that time, had to run some filters. Usually one used magic filters or so for that, which call GhostScript if you want to turn PostScript in what the printer wanted, if the printer was not a PostScript printer. And this was the printing system in that time. It was complicated. It was not easy. You needed a system administrator to set up a printer.
Right.
There was also a printing section in YAST, the setup program of SUSE, but only on a few printers you could really set it up easily. On others, you have to really do system administration on the command line. Especially SUSE did not ship all these little drivers.
Right.
And yes, at least in that time. Yes, I was system administrator, and as I had to do with Linux, I've compiled Linux applications. I've even compiled KDE 1.0 on IRIX. So I had made KDE 1. It was a little bit slow on the SGI, but it was working. Yes, and so I learned about free software. And so we got also a CD writer, and Only one, not for everyone, a CD writer. They were not inside the PCs. It was standing in our, there was one room with some workstations and printers inside. And in this room was also standing this CD writer. And now I, as a system administrator, wanted that everyone can use it. And there was no program where you can, in a multi-user environment with a nice graphical user interface, burn CDs. And I found XCD Roast, and this was a nice graphical user interface. It was written in TCL-TX, something which nowadays TCL-TX or so.
TX.
I'm not very sure how it was exactly spelled, because it seems you're looking for it now.
Yeah.
And
TCL-TK?
Yes, TCL-TK. And yes, and it was a programming language for writing, scripting language for writing graphical user interfaces. But it was only working for single user. It was not working for a network with multiple users where people are SSHing in and then with the help of X displaying the window of this program on their local workstation. And so I have modified TCL. I have modified XCD Roast so that it was working in multi-user environments. And I have sent the patch to the original author of it. And this was my first contribution to free software.
Awesome.
This way, yes. This way I got into it. And I later on even translated XCD Roast to Portuguese. This was also one of my early contributions to free software. So, and then during the time, the professors saw we had some printers. We had black and white laser printers, and they were PostScript. They had 2 trays, and they had duplex. And in the basic thing which you wanted to control on, and there were many things one could control on them, the basic thing you wanted to control on it so that the users can easily use them is to select the tray, the upper or lower, and to set the duplex. Duplex is either no duplex, duplex long edge binding, and duplex short edge binding. And so we had only LPD, and LPD does not support printer options as it was made for line printers. You can send a job, but you cannot accompany the job with options. There were some very obscure options, which made only sense on actual line printers, but we do not have that line printers. So my predecessors of system administrators did some very, very strange scripting because there were exactly six the program with the command line tool with which you send a print job, LPR, had exactly 6 options, 6 Boolean options, which also did not make sense for our laser printers. And then the system administrators have simply written a script which has interpreted these as the 6 combinations of the 2 trays and the 3 duplex modes.
Okay.
And so option 1 was then upper tray no duplex. Option 2 was upper tray duplex long edge, and so forth.
Right.
But this at least conveys from the client to the server which tray and which duplex option you wanted, but it was very cryptic for the user. And so they wrote also user scripts for the clients where the user could give some options like tray 1, tray 2, and duplex on, off, and long edge, short edge. And these shell scripts just converted these options into one of the 6 LPR options, and then they send it off to the server. Yes. And in the middle of and then the professors came and bought a new printer, a color laser printer for 14,000 German marks, which was in the beginning when the German mark was converted to euro, it was 7,000 euros.
Mhm.
And I think when one puts inflation and so long time ago, perhaps it would be now 15,000 euros. The
Mhm.
effort which they had to make. But when you buy a laser printer of that type today, is everything electronic that got much cheaper would probably be less, something like 500 or
Right.
so yes, or 200.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, and so they bought a color laser printer.
Mhm.
I did not, as in that time of the system administration, I was not taking care of printing. These other colleagues of mine did. This printer was a PostScript printer. I didn't know that. And it came with graphical user interfaces, print dialogues for the commercial Unixes, but not for Linux.
Mhm.
And so the system administrator set it simply up. You have to SSH into one of the commercial Unixes and print from there.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
home directories were mounted into all the machines of the network from a file server. So
Mhm.
if you SSH'd into a workstation, you saw your same home directory as you saw locally. And so you had to print this way. And so then we had this printer and all worked this way. And then came the year 2000.
Mhm.
And I read in a computer magazine, the German Linux magazine, which is the same as the English is from the same publisher as the
Mhm.
English Linux magazine.
Ah, okay. Yep.
And
Yep. Yep.
yes, and there somebody who worked at as a consultant for network printing. And he has written an article about CUPS 1.0,
Mm.
which came out in the beginning of uh, which came out in the beginning of 2000.
Mhm.
So it was new, and it was a completely new printing system. All the distros used still LPD, and he presented it in an article. And
Mhm.
I read the article. I bought the magazine every month because I was interested in free software. I bought it already since more or less since I started system administration.
Mhm.
And and so I saw this article, I read it, and so it's interesting. This is a printing system which takes PPD files of PostScript printers. Every PostScript printer comes with a so-called PostScript printer description file,
Mm.
which describes the capabilities of the printer and the user settable options like which trays, which paper sizes, which quality levels, econo mode, and so on.
Mhm.
And so that a generic PostScript driver, as it comes with Windows and Mac, can, with the help of the PPD file, use everything of the printer.
Right.
Yes. And so I thought, and the CUPS was supposed to do the same thing, using the PPD files to modify the PostScript which comes from the applications, as the applications were sending PostScript, and sending off the jobs with the appropriate modifications depending on the user supplied option settings. And so the printer is executing the user settings.
Mhm.
And so everything of the printer works, not only the two trays and the three duplex modes. Many more than six combinations.
Mhm. Mhm.
And and for the non-PostScript printers, CUPS was integrating filters. Once,
Ooh.
1 minute, please. Once when the job does not come in PostScript, for example, when you send with a command line utility, just a picture or so, or plain text, then it is converted into PostScript by filters. In CUPS, when it was PostScript, CUPS ran it through a PostScript to PostScript filter. This one once inserted the PostScript code of of the options in the PPD file, as the PPD file contains for every option setting, the PostScript code which has to be sent to the printer so that the option is appropriately executed. So it inserts this PostScript into the PostScript stream, and this filter executes also things like print four pages on one sheet, or print only page 1, 2, and 5, and so on. And then after the PostScript to PostScript filter, if it's a PostScript printer, the job is sent off to the printer, and if it's a non-PostScript printer, it goes through other filters to turn it into the raster format of the appropriate printer. So CUPS also supports non-PostScript printer with additional filters, but these filters needed a special format, so one needs certain integration work to generally use CUPS. But we had CUPS. Our three printers, the two black and white PostScript printers and the color PostScript printer. At that time, I discovered that the color printer was PostScript. Worked with all pipes and whistles. And all perfectly, we could do a lot more with the printers than before. And so I installed CUPS on the whole network, on all the machines, so that everyone could print from their machine easily. But to control the options for the printer, one had to do command line. One had to enter one command which lists which options are available, and then you have to enter the print command and tell on the command line what you want to have. This is still, it gives you full access, but it's still somewhat awkward.
Right.
More intuitive like the old thingy, but it's still somewhat awkward. And so I wrote XPP, the X printing protocol, a simple print dialog I wrote in C++ with FLTK.
Am I able
And
to
this
find
was a GUI toolkit for C, which was rather easy to use. I think it's even still exists, but practically nobody uses it anymore. And so I also do not know whether it's still maintained. In XPP, you can even find X printing protocol. XPP, you can even still find on the internet. It's on SourceForge. It has been all the time there. And this little print dialog, I wrote it up in its first version in something like 10 days. And I put it in our department on a publicly accessible server, and I announced it on FreshMeet. FreshMeet was the platform where free software developers were announcing their projects in that time. And then the author of the article in the Linux magazine, he has seen this this announcement by me and found it interesting, this print dialog. It makes it much easier to use CUPS. And so he has invited me, as his company where he is working had a booth about office printing with Linux, with the big office printers, the ones on wheels with a lot of drawers and scanner and so on. They he had a this company had a booth on the Linux Talk, the biggest Linux show, Linux conference in Europe that time, and he has invited me to show on his company's booth XPP.
Mhm.
I got a PC there, uh, and so I could show off XPP.
Mhm.
And on the show, there were also the major distros of that time, Red Hat, SUSE, and MandrakeSoft. Note that this was the year 2000.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yes, yes. And Canonical and Ubuntu started only in 2004.
Mhm.
And so the three major distros were those, and SUSE and Red Hat did not show much interest,
Mhm.
but MandrakeSoft did. The Mandrake Linux developers on that booth, they were already starting to show me on their booth how to package, how they package, how they upload the stuff, and how they make a distro.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, I did not have, naturally, I did not have experience in making distros that time, only installing and using distros.
Mhm.
And I had even Mandrake Linux on my laptop. In 1999, I bought my first laptop and installed Mandrake Linux on it.
Do you remember what laptop it was?
I don't know. It
Okay.
was
Okay.
some no-name thingy.
Okay. Okay.
You had the PC stores where you got no-name PCs, and they had also laptops. And in one of these stores, I bought a laptop.
Okay. Okay. It would have been fun if I could find exactly what it was.
It was also still before the time of online shopping.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yes, yes, and Mandrake Linux was there, the easy to install distro.
Mhm.
Mandrake Linux even helped me on the way to get to my wife, because in the beginning of 2000,
Mhm. Mhm.
in, in I also was, as part of my PhD, still for 2 months in Brazil. I was always every year for 2 months in Brazil during my PhD.
Mhm.
This way I got fluent in Portuguese. And at that time in 2000, I met my wife. And she, and when, yes, we married in 2004,
Oh.
but I met her that time, and she had a computer, had bought a cheap computer in such a store there
Mhm.
in Brazil, and wanted to have Linux on it.
Mhm.
And I have installed Mandrake Linux on it, and it worked and I succeeded to make it working perfectly. And she fell really in love with me by that.
That's a good story. I love that.
Yes, and so this and the show, the Linux Talk, was in July. Was later. It was in July, in the
Mhm.
beginning of July 2000, and the people of MandrakeSoft,
Mhm.
s- they they didn't know about that.
Mhm. Mhm.
They didn't know even that I was a user of Mandrake Linux.
Mhm. Mhm.
They had they had shown me their everything, and there was also a show. It was 4 days the show, and there was also a social event at one night. And
Mhm.
at the social event, they were all coming to me and telling about their office in Paris and what they are all doing there and how their day is going there and so on.
Mhm. Mhm.
And in already, I think the week after the show, I got the invitation. Do you want to work with us in Paris at MandrakeSoft? And I said yes, and they sent a contract in French. I went to my professor, my PhD professor, who also knew French, because I didn't know any word of French that time.
Okay.
He helped me to check whether it's all okay and legitimate. And then I accepted. And In the beginning of July, I was on the Linux stack,
Mhm.
and on 1st of August, I lived in Paris.
Wow.
Yes. And my first task was to switch Mandrake Linux from LPD to CUPS.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this was not only just RPM packaging CUPS. Mandrake was derived from Red Hat, so it was RPM based.
Mhm. Mhm.
I had also to integrate all the drivers so that every printer, they did not require it from me. I wanted to have it this way,
Mhm. Mhm.
that every printer which worked before with LPD will work with CUPS. And CUPS, as I said, needs a filter for
Mhm.
non-PostScript printer. And this filter cannot be an arbitrary filter, cannot be just a module to compile into GoScript.
Mhm. Mhm.
It needs to be a special filter with a special command line. So the usual thing which you had to do with filters is to do a wrapper. The easiest thing which you could do is you create a shell script which has the command line syntax of a CUPS filter, and inside it calls GoScript and perhaps some extra filter and so.
Mhm.
And you have to write a PPD file for the options. And this would be a lot of work with the many drivers, but there was fortunately a website called linuxprinting.org,
Mhm. Mhm.
and linuxprinting.org was a database of printers and how well they work with Linux and with which driver. And so there was also a database of drivers. And for each driver, how the driver is called. So the command line of GoScript, of extra filters, and for each, and also for how the different options are called.
Mhm.
And with this framework, it was possible and to generate PPD files plus plus CUPS filters. And so I could create, at least for the drivers whose whose database entry was completely populated,
Mhm.
I could generate CUPS PPD files and integrate these drivers fully in CUPS.
Mhm.
But it was only a few drivers, not all. And I've asked the creator of the site to populate the rest. But he told that he does not have that much time. He does it only in his spare time as a
Right.
hobby. And he gave me full right access to it. I was doing it as full time. I
Mhm.
started full time to work for printing at the 1st of August 2000 until now. So it's a little bit more than 25 years now. And therefore also my 25 years blog post, which I did in August.
Mhm. Mhm.
And and then I populated the database. And so I could make every driver which was working with LPD, I could make working with CUPS. I also have taken care that the distro contains them, so I've packaged all of them as RPMs. I've also patched GhostScript so far that it contains all the drivers.
Mhm.
And this way, we had, in this way, Mandrake Linux was perfectly able to print with CUPS, and it was very easy with Mandrake's printer setup tool, Printer Drake. It was very easy to set up a printer. The printer was automatically detected on USB and network, and the driver got assigned, and one could very easily set up the queue. And when it was not able to assign the driver, one could easily look up my manufacturer and model of the printer and set up the printer. So every printer which works with Linux was working with Mandrake Linux, and it was very easy to set up. And then with this, 2 months after I've started more or less, I had this working, and so the next release of Mandrake Linux, as far as I know, it's 7.2, was the first one running cups as a printing system, and it made printing much easier. There were still some bugs, but they got fixed in the next one, and as usually when one comes with something completely new. And so printing got very easy. And another thing which I started to do then is to go to conferences to give talks about that, and also workshops. The author of this Linux magazine article, Kurt Pfeifler is his name, he worked a lot with me together in that time. And we did together also workshops of setting up cups, setting up a cup server. Half day and even full day workshops on conferences.
Wow.
Conferences for system administrators.
And
And they were of the German Unix user group, these conferences, and you had to pay a certain admission fee for the conference. And there were 2 extra days with workshops, and if you wanted to attend workshops, you had to pay an extra fee.
Right.
So then it was my first time when I did something where people had to pay admission for. Yes. So these were my first workshops which I've given. And with this, I made cups known. And also, I've even given talks on conferences in Brazil, and there I've given the talks in Portuguese. And this way, cups got known. And the other distros followed. So all the distros switched over to cups.
So it was around that
And
time that cups
got
started
the standard.
becoming sort of the standard thing
Yes.
people were using.
Yes. So the early 2000s, 2002, 2003, I think the switch over, more or less 2003, beginning of 2004, they all had switched over. And this was also leading to the case as Canonical got started with Ubuntu in the beginning of 2004, and Ubuntu got born in October 2004. It came right with cups.
Right.
Yes.
So
It
when
inherited
did
cups from its mother, Debian.
So when did OpenPrinting actually start?
OpenPrinting was founded in 2001.
Okay.
There was, I think the company was named VA Linux. They were worried about printing with Linux, and they organized a printing summit. And on this printing summit, they invited several people who have to do with printing, like Michael Sweet, for example, and also me, because I did all the stuff with Mandrake Linux and printing packages from other distributions. They naturally were still packaging LPD, but they were also there, and people from printer manufacturers and so on, something like 20 people or so. And so we were talking about how one can make printing better with Linux. Also about the need of standards and things like that.
Right.
There was IPP, but one wanted also to have standards like APIs and so on. And so some of us we were founding OpenPrinting at this conference. It was mid 2001
Okay.
in San Francisco. Or was it near San Francisco? I visited. This was the first time I visited San Francisco. I think it was not in San Francisco, somewhere in the Silicon Valley.
Okay. Okay.
And then then in the beginning, open printing was only that we had every week phone meetings, and we were developing standards, and not really more. And the printer database was still running on linuxprinting.org, and only that I was maintaining it, but it was standing in but the server was in the house of the original author. And so we had, and then in the years, we had every week we had phone meetings and have created APIs for printing, job ticket API, printer API, and whatever. And in 2006, oh no, 2004 and 2005, I had run Hackfests in France. There was some Linux conference which was all every year happening somewhere in France. And I've in these 2 years, once a year, I have run a Hackfest with printing related people, more or less these who were also on that printing summit. And there we have also talked about the development of printing, what to make better, what we can also do, and so on. Print dialogues, GUI, and whatever. Drivers, but mostly drivers even. And then in the end of 2005, I had a booth in San Francisco, a printing booth on the Linux World Expo, and also with some printing people. And there we have told there we had the first Hackfest in 2004 was nice, but the second one, the conference was not well organized, and so the Hackfest was not so nice, and so some people did not come from the US and so on. And so in the 2000, at this booth, as we printing people were together again, we have decided on we have to do a printing summit, a meeting, an annual meeting in the United States, because most people were from the United States. And this was leading to the first that I was organizing with them. I was leading the organization of that. We were organizing the first Open Printing Summit back in 2006 in Georgia, Atlanta, because there was a facility of Lanier, one of the Ricoh office printer brands, and there, the guy who was there responsible for Linux, Ulrich Wehner, he was doing the on-location organization. There at Lanier was all working well, that we had a hotel and so on. And so this was the first Open Printing Summit. And this was the first Open Printing Summit. And on this, I met Jan Murdoch, the Jan of Debian, so founder of Debian, and Jan Murdoch, and I talked with him about open printing and so, and that what I really need is hosting for linuxprinting.org, because the server is running in the house of its original author, and it's already containing official PPD files of manufacturers. And so we need something more safe and secure and reliable.
Right.
And so And then he told, yes, we are hosting it, but we are also hosting you. You are getting a job at the Free Standards Group to work full time for OpenPrinting. You join linuxprinting.org into OpenPrinting and make OpenPrinting everything to make printing just work. And so in the from the middle of 2006 on, I was working full time at the Free Standards Group. And MandrakeSoft. I was working at MandrakeSoft until 2006, and living in Paris. But MandrakeSoft only in 2001 they had money. Then they had still expensive uh, meetings in nice hotels and nice venues, and they have sent us in the evenings after work to school to learn French and so on. But in the beginning of 2001, it was over. They were not healthy anymore financially. They were all the time hopping from one venture. Oh, what is that? There are two.
Yeah, there's two of me. I disconnected for a moment. That one will leave in a little bit. I don't know if did you keep talking for a bit there? Because I missed maybe the last 30 seconds.
Yes. What I said in the last 30 seconds is that MandrakeSoft was from 2001 on, they were not financially healthy anymore.
Right.
Yes, they were hopping from one venture capitalist to the next one, not earning actually money. And so I did not get a raise in all the 6 years. And Paris is not cheap to live. And because I lived near the center of Paris, I lived in walking distance to the office. And but fortunately, MandrakeSoft was surviving all the time. The sinking ship on which I was living only sank in 2015. And so in 2006, it was very, very welcome for me that the Free Standards Group was taking me over. By this switch, I had right away double the salary.
Wow.
Because I never got a raise in all the time.
Right.
Not even to compensate inflation. So and this was a big step forward for me.
It's fine. That was just the other me that was leaving.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. Now we're all good again.
And so this way I could leave MandrakeSoft and continue at the Linux Foundation. And another thing happened, because also in 2006, every year from 2001 to 2006, I've organized a booth on the Linux Tag about printing with Linux. And also in 2006. And in 2006, Ubuntu was already a 2-year-old baby. There was Ubuntu's father, Mark Shuttleworth, and I bumped into him on the hallway, and he told to me, "Thanks a lot, Till, for all the stuff which you have done to make printing working. And do you want to work with us?" And so I got the second offer. So I had 2 job offers. And to solve this, one thing is it helped me to get the salary a bit higher, because I could put them against each other. And yes, I think that's some 20% more I got also by that. And then it ended up that I have taken full-time the Linux Foundation. No, it was the Free Standards Group, and taking a third-time contract at Canonical. So I had 4/3 of a job, and so my work was to run OpenPrinting, to manage OpenPrinting, and to package the printing related software for Ubuntu as Debian packages. And this started then mid 2006.
Okay.
And with the time following, so at a certain time, the Linux Foundation was not paying me full anymore. They were canceling half, and then I got raised to 2/3 of a job at Canonical, and later on in 2012, I was full-time at Canonical and not at the Linux Foundation anymore. And one thing is, Linux Foundation and Free Standards Group. The Linux Foundation was founded in mid 2007, joining the Free Standards Group and the Open Source Development Laboratory.
Yes.
And yes, and therefore, by that, I was at the Linux Foundation.
Okay, right. So you started
Yes, for
at the Free
simplicity
Standards Group and then
in
like
LinkedIn.
merged in.
Yes, for simplicity in LinkedIn, I have only written Linux Foundation. And yes, and so I was at the Linux Foundation and continuing. And this was, yes, and this then was the real start of OpenPrinting. And all the time I was doing more or less the same work. I was taking care that with Linux and free software you can print. Not only for the distro where I was employed. Yes, and this was Canonical was going on until this year in June, mid-June.
So what happened there? I don't know how much you can say, how much you want to say there, but what happened with Canonical?
Yeah, Canonical in the beginning, it was rather to be in a family when in that times where Mark was grabbing his employees on conferences, and Canonical was growing all the time. It got more and more corporate. There were also thoughts to do an IPO, but it never turned reality. And Canonical has now, I think, 1,200 employees. So Canonical got also more and more corporate. They started with peer-to-peer evaluations and also I think in general English one says it's Scrum or so that you slice the time into 2-week blocks, so-called sprints, and then there are stand-up meetings every day and in the morning and in the beginning of a sprint one has to plan it, and in the end there's a meeting about what one has done and what one did not succeed and so on.
Right.
It has all the corporate formalism, and also there were schemes for career schemes so that you could apply for a higher level, and if you passed you were promoted into the higher level. And yes, I even once when they started with this with a career scheme, I once applied and got promoted even. And then what happened is that that most people in most corporations, like also Canonical, they're working in some team and they are deeply integrated with the team working together on something. And in Canonical, I was also in a team, in the desktop team, but my work was all the time mainly open printing, and open printing was something which was happening outside Canonical. It was an, an independent upstream project, and and it was not a one-man business. I have a team. I have people working together with me, but they are not working at Canonical.
Right.
And I have also the Google Summer of Code students, so temporary team members and so on. And so I've done with them a lot of work, organized that work, managed all this. And Canonical has an internal. Once I had to somehow document it also in for the sprints, which was not that easy, and so that Canonical knows what I'm doing. And also at Canonical there were peer-to-peer evaluations, which means that the performance of an employee is evaluated by the colleagues. And this is done with some web application, with some special voting scheme. And usually, when you are in a team, the team has already something like 20 people. And then you have also interaction with people from some other teams. And so there come together a good amount of people who are voting on your performance. And so you get more or less a representative result about your performance. But with me, it did not work because I got too few votes and there was no quorum. They counted the too few votes. And so the value had a huge error bar. So the thing which when you study physics, you learn in the first laboratory about measurements and error and statistic, the thing where a beginner student would fail the test. And then based on this measurement, then they had hard thresholds under which people do not get their annual bonus and raise, and probably another hard threshold under which people are laid off.
Right.
Yes, yes.
So basically, you were a Canonical employee for a long time, but you're effectively it's a weird position because you're effectively operating like a contractor. You're doing
Yes, yes.
outside work, but you're a full-time employee at Canonical.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's the fact that I that yeah, like that's just a bad situation to be in, right? I'm sure from your perspective, suddenly finding out that that was happening just it didn't make any sense to you.
Yes, yes. Yes, a company, if they want to support open source projects and pay a person for that full time, they have to do, for example, something like a open source leadership program or something like that, and treat them differently, not putting them into the scheme of usual employees, where the work is defined by the company.
So after that happened, where does open printing exist now? Like, how are you making money?
Yes, yes. The in the next month they have Canonical has given me an indemnity, so I had some time to survive. And in that time, I've tried to re-establish my getting paid for my work at OpenPrinting.
Mhm.
And because I was in an emergency situation, I have started at first to do my Mayday calls in terms of filling in my profile in LinkedIn, making a lot of contacts, also posting on Mastodon, and I got near 1,200 boosts. I have never seen so many boosts on one Mastodon post, and then I naturally needed and I need mid-air refueling
Mhm.
so that I do not need to pull the ejection seat, meaning taking an arbitrary different job and let open printing crash.
Mhm.
And then what I have started then is I've already started before, but I've gotten it started because it did not get completed to make open printing a full sub-organization of the Linux Foundation,
Mhm.
so that we have an open printing foundation which can receive sponsorships
Mhm. Mhm.
and memberships, can receive money, can handle money. And therefore, we have to make a technical charter. I have also lined up a technical steering committee for open printing, and and to form this organization so that we can get sponsored.
Mhm.
And with the LinkedIn, I have discovered a person from the Sovereign Tech Agency. I have invited the person to make a connection with me and told this person about my situation. And then this person asked me to write up what I'm working for open printing, how many hours on what, and how much would this be in money. So the
Mhm.
money which IT consultant gets for that work.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I made a long list, a big plan, coming
Mhm.
up with enough hours for whole year full time, and somewhat more in money, somewhat more than my last salary of Canonical.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this person also invited me for a video chat, and then we chatted about that. And then this was my application for the Sovereign Tech Fund. And 1 or 2 weeks later, I got an email that I'm accepted and I get the appropriate amount of money.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I'm now covered until from beginning of October 2025 to the end of 2026.
Mhm.
And I have to uh, I have to write invoices and lists of what I have worked.
Mhm.
And but after the fact, I do not have to tell every month what I will do in that,
Right,
what I have
it's
planned to do in that
less
month.
annoying than handling
And so,
sprints.
like, I'm now for the several tech fund, I'm like an IT consultant.
Mhm.
The Sovereign Tech Fund
Mhm.
has hired an IT consultant
Mhm. Mhm.
based on the quote which I've created in the beginning for the application. And so I have to send invoices and they pay the invoices.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this also means that I'm not an employee, I'm self-employed. So I'm working at Open Printing as the lead of Open Printing. And
How does that feel as a change?
What?
How does that feel as a change? Is that like a nice change for you? Now that you're actually like
Yes, yes, because the pressure of the corporate scheme of 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 Canonical has fallen away,
Mhm,
and and this way I and so I'm it is much easier for me to plan and to do the things and not having to worry about whether I get good evaluation votes and so on.
mhm, mhm,
Yes, it would be bad if you have to do twice a year a voting campaign and not like a president only every 4 years.
mhm, mhm. So
Yes,
this is until the end of 2026. What is the
yes,
long-term plan?
yes. The long-term plan is that open printing gets turned into a full sub-organization of the Linux Foundation,
Mhm,
and that we are talking with companies who benefit most of printing in free software,
mhm,
which is, for example, the distributions and also office applications and many and also these companies who make computers, laptops, which are designed for use with Linux,
mhm, mhm,
like System 76, Framework, Tuxedo, and so on.
mhm, mhm,
And and there we want to get we want to get them to subscribe as a member,
mhm,
to get
mhm,
a member of Open Printing, and so pay an annual fee, and this way they assure that printing just works.
mhm, mhm,
And this we are now in it's now in the work that we are establishing this.
mhm. How much work is required to make this happen?
It is Yes, it is organizational work.
Mhm,
There are some email forth and back. Only the managers of the Linux Foundation do not have so much time, so that the Linux forth and back, the email forth and back is not that quick.
mhm,
And but we are very close to completing it.
mhm.
We have
Awesome.
practically settled on everything.
Okay, okay. So that makes things, I guess, far more comfortable then. Once you know there is a place that this can exist, and once you have that funding established, then basically, hopefully, you don't have to worry about things again like this in the future.
Yes. I hope I can get it then running permanently,
Mhm,
so that open printing gets self-sustaining.
mhm,
Yes, and and the schemes are very different in different free software projects. Open printing is an infrastructure project, so most people do not really see it.
mm,
They see that it just works, and they see also if it does not work. So it's like a wastewater system or so, and and
You're the one who's saying that about your project. I didn't say it. That feels like a really mean way to describe open
or
printing.
like a public transport network, but public transport is much more visible.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
also the public transport company does a lot more marketing,
mhm,
because you
mhm,
can in terms of public transport, you can opt between your car or using the public
mhm,
transport.
mhm.
So they have to do a lot of marketing.
I,
Yes,
I like you
I'm
went with
I'm doing also a lot of marketing, but not to the users. I do the marketing to the developers,
mhm,
because I need developers to work together with me
mhm.
on the printing stuff.
I like that you went with wastewater though. Like you could have just gone with the electrical network or just regular plumbing. You decided to go with that one though.
Yes, and so we are an infrastructure
Mhm, mhm,
project. Therefore, the sovereign tech agency is supporting us, and it is a lot of it is a lot in contrast, for example, to a project like Thunderbird.
mm,
Thunderbird is also self-sustaining, but it is based mainly on donations from users.
mhm,
But it is easier to get user donations for such a desktop application once the people are directly interacting with the desktop application. We are using Thunderbird.
mhm,
And second, in the desktop application, if you have some area which would be empty, for example, if you start the program and do not yet choose one of your mailboxes,
mhm,
you would have an empty window.
mhm,
And they simply put the call for donations into this empty space.
mhm. Yeah, you're in a more similar place to something like GCC, where you don't really see it, or glibc, or any other like systemd, anything like this, where it's
Yes,
running in the
yes.
background and you know it's doing stuff, but unless something goes wrong, you never really think
Yes.
about it.
And the normal user do not even know what it is. They
Right.
only know that their computer boots and that all the components which are needed that the computer works are there.
Mhm, mhm,
And and the people who are shouting out loud, we do not want systemd, these are not normal users. These are Linux geeks who do not like systemd and who want to have a distribution which does the same thing on with other means.
mhm, mhm,
And but for open printing, we are
mhm,
also in the situation that do printing with other means.
mhm,
I think currently there's nothing which is actively supported
mhm,
to do printing. It's
mhm.
only cups.
Are there other? I actually don't even know. Are there other attempts to do printing, or is it actually just
No,
cups?
no, then yes. Yes. That I've never seen that anybody else has tried to do any competing attempt, neither by creating a new printing system,
Mhm,
nor by forking anything from open printing and
mhm,
developing it on their own.
mhm,
It
mhm,
never happened. This means also, this is also for me, it means that developing on printing is not attractive. There are
right.
many other much more interesting things in the free software world which the people would grab.
Mhm, mhm.
Yes. And therefore, I have to do a lot of marketing.
Yeah, even other infrastructure projects don't necessarily have that problem, right? Like systemd, they don't really have trouble getting contributors or just, Pipewire or a lot of these other things that we'll rely on, but I guess for some reason just feel more attractive.
Yes, yes. Perhaps also another point is perhaps that printing
Mm,
is associated with the with what the people consider the most hated piece of hardware, the printer.
right. There is this idea that printing doesn't work. And obviously, like, you've put a lot of work into making printing work, but what is it about printers that give people this perception?
Yes, and another thing is also the razors and blades model that
Mhm,
people have to pay a lot for ink, and that the
mhm,
manufacturers try to move them away from third party ink.
mhm, 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 mhm. Yeah,
And
I was asking, what, like, why do people have this perception that printers don't work?
yes, one thing is also there are different reasons. One thing is if you have the Windows operating system, which is an operating system which is most widespread on the desktop. In this operating system, printer drivers have been all the time kernel drivers. So they are very deeply in the system. And when the printer driver crashes, the whole system crashes. And to install a new printer driver, you have to reboot the system and so on. And when a printer gets old, the code of the driver is old because the manufacturer does not support it for the eternity. So you have a very new and shiny Windows, but somewhere in the kernel is sitting an old printer driver, and this breaks your system. And yes, and so this is, so you get a software instability on printer drivers in Windows, which is also one reason why people are complaining about printing. And it is difficult to chase down when printing does not work, to chase it down in Windows. It often leads them that they just reboot and that they turn on and turn off the printer. Everyone does, but they just reboot and even reinstall the whole operating system again and so on. And another thing is, yes, Microsoft is remedying this by that they have done away with classic printer drivers. They support, like we are also doing in CUPS 3.x, they support only IPP driverless printers, modern driverless printers. And this means that the old printers will not work anymore, but Microsoft, in contrary to us, is saying throw away the old printer.
Right.
But we at OpenPrinting, we in the free software, we are sustainable. We are conserving the old drivers, and now in preparation for the switch over to CUPS 3.x, I have created a printer application, 4 printer applications. Printer applications are software emulations of driverless IPP printers, which incorporate the old printer drivers. And on the front end, they are driverless printers, and on the back end, they are talking with the old printers. This way, in Linux, when we switch over to not supporting classic printer drivers anymore, switch over to CUPS 3.x, the old printers continue to work. And one thing is, in Windows, you can also make the old printers continue to work. As Microsoft is so generous and includes WSL, Windows Subsystem for Linux. And I have already 3 years ago on the first Open Printing Summit given a lightning talk about that. And this was the most successful part of the whole conference, the most talked about part of the whole conference. Even that I have done much more important and impactful things on that conference as organizing a part of it, organizing a Snap workshop series of 5 workshops on it, doing a Snap panel and doing an open printing panel. But the little 10 minutes lightning talk, probably because Mark's first words when he opened the conference were Mark Shuttleworth's. First words when he opened the conference was, when he talked about what we can expect on the conference, was to talk about my lightning talk.
I think it's because it's like a very very approachable subject. It's something that a lot of people, even if they're not necessarily very interested in printing, that's something which a lot of people can sort of, find something interesting from.
Yes. And one thing is, yes, we have Yes, we had, and yes, we have one thing which was Windows, but
Mhm,
another thing which makes printers hated, probably also not is, as I also always, is the hardware. One thing, the
mhm,
razors and blades model, which I mentioned, and also in general, printers are highly mechanical. They are
mhm,
probably in the modern setup the most mechanical piece,
mhm, mhm,
and all the time the most exposed mechanical piece. As hard disks in former times, they were also mechanical, but they were completely enclosed. It was difficult to damage this mechanics or
mhm,
to
mhm,
interfere with it. And and printers are an exposed piece of mechanics where you insert paper, where you can insert wrong paper, you can do wrong things like opening the drawer while it's printing and a lot of things, or you can have a paper jam and so
mhm,
on.
mhm, mhm,
So printing easily leads to hardware problems, and so you have to go to the printer and fix it,
mhm,
which does not happen with the other components of a PC.
mhm, mhm, mhm. Mm.
And the printer is often far away from you, as if you are in a company, in an office,
Mhm, mhm,
where you have 20 or more people in all their rooms, and in the middle of the complex there is the room with the printers. And there
mhm.
are only the printers. There's no CD burner inside anymore.
If I clip
And
out this segment, people are just gonna hear you mention the CD burner and have no idea what you're talking about. Go watch the
yes,
full episode if you're
yes.
listening to this as a clip. There you go.
Yes, yes, and so perhaps you can also add some explications to the show notes for some old things which we do not have anymore in
Mhm, mhm,
in
mhm, mhm,
in the modern life.
mhm, mhm.
Yes, yes. When one is interviewing an old man, you will get you will hear a lot of these words, and so yes, I'm really relatively old. When I was when I was still there in my team,
Mm, mm, mm,
in the desktop team, there I was the oldest with
mhm.
my 55 years.
Well, you've clearly achieved quite a lot during your time doing all of this stuff.
And yes, we cannot do anything against the exposed mechanics. We must
Mhm,
live with the mechanics.
mhm, mhm,
What
mhm,
but what we can do is what one can do is one could do uh, uh, repairable sustainable printer.
mm.
I have already posted in a forum at Framework Computer, you know, the repairable and
Yes.
upgradable laptops. Long ago, I think 2 years ago or so, or 1 year ago, I don't know. It was on the 1st of January. Uh, that made the suggestion, why not make a repairable and upgradable printer?
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
And often there were discussions also on Mastodon about a repairable, about printers, and one should have a repairable printer with standardized inks and toners.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
And and the the people of framework really did not think that one can earn money with that idea.
mhm,
Once somebody on the post, somebody of framework answered and told that this is probably not viable. And also, I've later seen a video where the founder of of framework has
Mhm.
answered questions of the audience, and there have
Yeah, I know the
also
one you're talking
somebody
about.
has asked whether a framework could make a repairable printer. And then the founder told Nirav Patel, I hope I remember the name correctly,
Mhm.
told that one would probably not be able to earn money with that or so.
Mhm.
Yes, and now a few weeks ago, you are probably seeing a lot the news about free software. There were 3 French people who have posted the intention
Mhm.
that they want to crowdfund a repairable printer.
I did not hear about that. No.
As you must search for OpenPrinter.
Open printer.
Yes, yes.
Um, on I think yeah, open printer. Finally, open hardware printer you can actually understand, repair, and upgrade on crowd supply.
Yes, yes, on crowd supply. Then you're on the right thing. You will probably see a rather compact printer with a paper roll on
Yes,
its
yes,
top.
yes.
Then you're on the correct page. And then when I've seen this, I went to LinkedIn and have looked up the names of the creators
Mhm, mhm.
and invited them for connecting with me. And 2 of them quickly connected with me, and I started to talk with them. And probably the third was not using LinkedIn frequently enough.
Right.
And then they invited me for a video meeting. Then I had something like 1.5 hours video meeting, and we talked about everything, and especially also about the software. And I have told them they wanted to use cups as the main part of the software. Then I've told them also about Puppet, the printer application library, also written by cups author Mike Sweet.
Mhm.
And this is initially designed for making printer applications, emulations of driverless printers for hosting printer drivers with CUPS 3.x. And but Mike Sweet, in his further work, has also made it ready to work as a firmware of a printer. For example, he has added functionality that it works as it works as a USB device, and
Mhm.
so you can run it on a Raspberry Pi, for example. Connect the charging port of the Raspberry Pi with your laptop, and your laptop sees a printer.
Okay.
And yes, yes, and And so you can use it as a firmware of a modern printer, and I've told them about that, and they found it a good idea. And I have, because for me, it's good, for us at Open Printing, it's good. We are then showcasing that we can make a free printer firmware,
Mhm, mhm,
that we have everything so that one can make a free and open printer.
mhm,
And then we have also applied now at the FOSS the free and open source developers meeting every year in Brussels, first weekend of February, biggest Linux free software conference, which is community driven in Europe, 8,000 attendees typically, but it's walk-in, one has not to register for it.
mhm.
There we have applied for a booth. When this weekend they accept our application, we will have an open printing and open printer booth on the FOSDEM and show this off.
That's really cool. I'm very happy you told me about this device. I did not know this existed.
Ah, nice.
So
Probably you sooner or later will make also another video
very
about.
possibly I will now that I know about it. Thank you. Um, there's one thing we hadn't really touched on. I think actually is fairly important, at least fairly important for the history of it. So when people talk about cups, at least historically, now not as much. There were you've Apple cups and then open printing cups, and like why are these two separate versions?
Yes, yes. What happened was the following: in the beginning, in the early 2000s,
Mhm,
I made all the Linux distributions use cups and make cups, therefore more well known. I don't know whether Apple reacted on this or reacted directly on Mike's suite. What happened is that Mike's suite got that Apple has adopted cups as the printing system for Mac OS. And Apple has employed cups, has employed Michael's suite.
mhm, mhm,
And and Apple and Michael Sweet has worked at Apple for a long time, and he by himself has left at the end of 2019.
mm,
And so at the beginning of 2020, he was running an own company, but not Cups. He was running a company named Lakeside Robotics. And this company is about uh, robotics and education, or education about robotics, more or less like this.
mhm, mhm,
And this is his and but Michael Sweet, he is continuing to develop cups, but
mhm,
in the beginning of 2020, we were all expecting that Apple would continue to develop cups.
mm,
Cups was hosted at Apple that time, and as soon as Mike was not there anymore at Apple, there were no commits anymore on the GitHub of
mhm, mhm.
Apple. There were no releases of cups. Somewhere in the middle of the year, there were 2 or 3 commits, but these were security fixes.
Right.
So the thing you are
Mhm,
obliged to do.
mhm, mhm,
And if you want to use a software and deliver it to your to somebody,
mhm, mhm,
and so nothing happened there. I was very worried. I talked with Mike about that. And first, Mike was forking tabs onto OpenPrinting
mhm,
so that we could continue to develop cups. And later on, I think he did some negotiation with Apple so that cups, that the original upstream of cups is OpenPrinting.
mhm,
And since then, cups upstream is a repository on OpenPrinting. cups is a part of OpenPrinting.
mhm, mhm,
And Michael is also a part of OpenPrinting. Michael is also one of the 5 in the technical steering committee.
mhm, mhm,
And and so we, we Mike is continue since the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. Mike is continuing to develop cups. And in the beginning of 2001, when we had our annual meeting, Open Printing Summit PWG meeting, Mike has announced cups 3.x, dropping PPDs and classic drivers,
mhm, mhm,
having separate local server and sharing server. Local server runs as normal user, is only for local print use, and sharing server is for actually sharing printers on the network.
mhm, mhm,
And this new concept of uh, of cups, and that classic drivers are not supported anymore. We need we need printer applications and so on.
Mhm,
And then in August 2021,
mhm,
I got interviewed by Heather Ellsworth in the Ubuntu Indaba,
mhm,
and I have invited Mike Sweet into this session, and we have talked about CUPS 3.x and the new architecture,
mhm,
going all IPP without classic drivers.
mhm.
This was long before one heard from Microsoft about that they want to do this. So one does not know whether Microsoft has copied the idea.
Hey, if they copy it, I guess it makes it easier because then everybody kind of is encouraged to do everything that way.
Yes, and unfortunately, what that did not happen, Microsoft did not adopt CUPS.
Aha, yeah, right. Okay.
It had been great.
That would have been really nice.
Yes, yes. We had gotten into a very special situation then.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Hey, if Microsoft is doing the same thing that you're doing, even if they're doing it in their own separate way, it does make things easier because obviously Windows is like the main platform. So if Windows is doing something, then people that are making printers are obviously going to want it to work nicely with Windows.
Yes, one thing is also the interoperability.
Mm,
The driverless printing
mm,
was not introduced with CUPS 3.x. The driverless printing was introduced already earlier
mm,
at Apple, probably probably based on Michael Sweet's ideas,
mm, mm,
the AirPrint. So
mm,
that Apple wanted that every iPhone can print on
mhm,
every printer.
mhm, mhm,
And an iPhone is somewhat restricted in space. You do not want to have that half the space is filled with PPD files.
mhm,
And so yes, this was really a problem when I was developing for Ubuntu. I had ran also in this problem and had one Google Summer of Code project on how to compress the PPD files on the fly. And yes, and so they have introduced AirPrint, and AirPrint is nothing more than the modern driverless printing.
mhm,
The modern driverless printing is the printer advertises itself by DNSSD, also called Bonjour or ZeroConf or MDNS, and then the clients pick up this advertising and talk to the printer in IPP.
mhm, mhm,
And in IPP, there is one call, the get printer attributes request.
mhm,
And when you make this call to the printer tells everything about itself. Its trays, its paper sizes, its resolutions, its qualities, and also the languages, the page description languages it
mhm, mhm,
understands. And it is required that for a printer being a driverless IPP printer, that it advertises itself by DNSSD, that it does IPP 2.0
mhm,
at least, because from then on we have this get printer attributes request, and it understands at least one of four given printer description languages.
mhm, mhm,
One of them is PDF, and the others are raster languages. You wonder that there's no PostScript, but PostScript is obsolete. Yes. One thing is in free software, Mike and me made it obsolete in 2006 on the first Open Printing Summit.
mhm, mhm,
There we announced that we switch over to PDF as a standard printout format.
mhm,
And after that, all the applications started to switch over to PDF.
mhm,
And when I published the first time CUPS filters in 2011, then all distros, everything was really switched to PDF as the standard printout
mhm.
format. But also printer manufacturer, on the printer manufacturer side, modern printers have more computing power, the high-end ones. And so they are all understanding also PDF. And the low-end ones, it is easy to implement the raster formats which are supported by driverless printing. So one can implement driverless printing. Driverless IPP printing is designed that one can implement it also on cheap hardware. And with this and the Apple AirPrint, the manufacturers started to implement this. And so all the printers were starting to support Apple AirPrint. And there came up other flavors of the driverless IPP printing. One is the standard flavor, the native flavor. This is called IPP Everywhere from the PWG. And IPP Everywhere is completely open. All the standards of the PWG are completely open. The Apple raster format in the beginning of AirPrint was still closed, but it was later also opened. Sooner or later, CUPS supported it, and so we have and then we have Mopria. Mopria is used by Windows and Android, but technically there and also Wi-Fi direct print includes also driverless IPP printing. And all of them are technically the same. As I said, printer advertises itself by DNSSD, and then you send the get printer attributes IPP request and learn about all the capabilities, including the page description languages, and then you can send the job. And the difference between these flavors is only that the required page description languages are different. Are different choices of these four. And so this means that all the printers, even the cheapest ones which you buy in your discount grocery store, are driverless because they want them that they can print from, that you can print from your phone. And this is interoperable. I have also taken care as soon as possible to support driverless printing from Linux. So all these printers work from Linux. Exception could be firmware bugs, and some firmware bugs are known. And then the other operating systems also support driverless printers. Also Windows and Mac supports driverless printing. So all these printers print also from Windows and Mac. Especially as I told Windows, is with the WSL and a printer application running under WSL, you can print from Windows. This also makes use of the case that Windows supports driverless IPP printers. Is what happens is that the printer setup tool of Windows sees a driverless IPP printer on localhost and then prints on this one.
This thing you were saying about how people want to be able to print from their phone, how Apple did the air printing thing. This as you were saying that, it reminded me of another conversation I was having with someone in the audio space the other day, where the reason why a lot of audio devices basically just work on Linux is Apple said, hey, you need to make sure it works with the iPhone. It needs to be a standard USB class device. And that forced everyone to start doing that as well. So for all the problems people might have with Apple, there are cases where they force a standard and it just makes things easier.
Yes, this is also a way of introducing a standard. One thing is you can design a standard and hope that it gets adopted. This we tried in the early years of open printing but failed. But this also happened when Mike Sweet and some others created IPP, and that succeeded. And another thing is there can be something
Mhm.
which works and which everyone adopts. And so
Mhm.
after the fact, you say this is a standard.
Mhm. 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 So you like you retroactively turn into a standard, basically.
When, for example, if you have cups,
Mm.
cups I have introduced on one distro.
Mhm.
Then the
Mhm.
other distros have followed. I did not say, and Mike did not say, this is the standard.
Right. Right.
Yes, yes. And then all the distros had cups. All the other printing system like LPI and LPD ceased maintaining.
Mhm.
And so CUPS established itself to the standard, or my marketing, or Mike being a genius in software engineering, something like that, established CUPS in all the distros, everyone using it, and so it turned the standard.
Mhm. Well, on that note, unless there's anything else you want to touch on, we've just passed the 2 hour mark, and that's usually around about where I try to end it off. So unless
Yes,
there's anything that you really want to touch on,
yes.
I think we can end
Yes,
it there.
yes. One thing is naturally, I want to have a call for help.
Mhm.
I want to
Right. Yes.
everyone who is watching this, and for example, and wants to help, for example, as a developer or designer or documentation writer, you are all very very welcome to participate in open printing.
Mhm. Mhm.
And for code contribution, if you are either a student or you are starting in getting into open source, you can participate in the Google Summer of Code. And we are every year since 2008, we are participating in the Google Summer of Code as part of the Linux Foundation. The actual mentoring organization is the Linux Foundation,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
I'm organizing all this. I've always applied on behalf of the Linux Foundation, and
Mhm.
Open Printing is a part of it. You can participate in Open Printing in the Google Summer of Code. And we have many interesting projects, a desktop integration, uh, testing, fuzz testing, testing with computer vision, and many other interesting things.
Mhm. Mhm.
And also, I want to, if you want to help us financially, for example, you are running a company
Mhm.
which benefits from an operating system in which printing just works, then you could get a member or can make us one-time donations, and so help us to that we can sustain ourselves and we can get a stronger organization, perhaps even sooner or later pay more persons than just me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And and so please contact me for any form of help.
Mhm. Mhm.
And yes. And another thing is, if you happen to be in India and you are working at a university, preferably in the computer science department, or have good contacts to a university with a computer science department, we are looking for a venue where we will run the next Opportunity Open Source Conference, end of August, beginning of September of 2026. And this conference is about introducing principally students, but also professors and researchers into open source
Mhm. Mhm.
to motivate them to participate, not only coding but also design and documentation and spreading the word and whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is a 2-day conference usually, or and often with a third day added for a hackathon. and we will run talks and workshops. We have done it successfully since 2023, already 3 times. And in the last times we had around 300 attendees, but it can easily get more if your city has several colleges and universities where people would also join from other universities and colleges and not yours. It requires naturally from you that you are lining up a team of volunteers, that we have crews for the rooms, and that we have people who are looking for sponsors, people who are setting up the venue, people who are organizing the food, and so on. And so soon we will do also a formal call for locations, but everyone who's interested to run this conference in India, we are running it in India because most of our contributors come from India, and so there's a lot of interest in free software and open source in India. And then please contact me.
Awesome. I'll leave if there's any links you want me to include in the description. Just send them to me after the fact. Send me a email, and I can include everything you want me to include.
Yes, I will do so. I will send you the links, and then you can easily add them to the show notes, and so that people can click them.
Is there anything else you want to mention that people can get involved with, or anything else that you just feel like mentioning?
I think I have done it now.
Okay. Yeah, it was a pleasure to have you on. Very, very pleasure meeting you. I had a lot of fun with this. You're a very, very fun person to talk to. You clearly have you have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and that I think really comes through with the interview. And I hope because of that, it can make more people passionate about printing.
Yes, I hope so too. And one thing is, with the opportunity open source, we also raised our number of students and interested in Google Summer of Code with open printing a lot. We got something like 60 applications this year, and I actually lined up 19 proposals. Unfortunately, Google gave us only 11 slots, but there's a lot of interest caused by the conference. And so if you would like to see how India is and visit India, it would be great if you submit a talk when we do the call for proposals and give a talk on the opportunity of open source.
That could be interesting.
Yes,
Oh.
and if you want to see the sustainable and repairable open printer live, probably you will be able to see it on the FOSDEM, but it's more far away than India.
That does seem really cool. Yeah. I'll definitely have to think about it. It's currently 2:40 a.m. here, so it's a little bit late to be thinking about much right now. But
Yes. I remember when I started with Mauro. You know Mauro from the last tech, or from one of the last takeover teas. When I started to organize with him the organization of the Ubuntu Summit 2022, he was living in Taiwan, and I was also living in Vienna, and we had in my evening we have talked with each other about everything, exchanged ideas for the conference, and it was for we 3 hours, and it was for him from midnight to 3 o'clock in the morning. But now it does not happen anymore because Mauro is living in Switzerland. Now it can only happen if you interview him.
I
but
think it was
choose
probably
time
around
more
this.
friendly for you.
I think it was also probably pretty late when I was talking to Maldo as well. It's fine. I've done plenty of late episodes. This is actually early for me. I've started episodes at this time before. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
It easily happens to you because most of the people on the world are living on the northern hemisphere with and so the concentration, the most concentrating point of free software can be probably Europe, perhaps the
Yeah.
United States. Sooner perhaps it can get in the future a little bit better for you as India is
Mhm, mhm.
growing.
I think the
And
I think the best one I've had outside of Australia, I spoke to someone in Singapore. Singapore's pretty easy.
yes, yes, yes. I yes, I must look. I have one in the team who's in Singapore, and
Mhm.
he is doing a lot with OSS fuzz integrate. He
Ah,
does OSS fuzz integration for OpenPrinting.
mhm,
If
mhm,
you want to have a tech over tea about fuzz testing,
mhm.
I can perhaps pass him to you.
That could be actually that could be fun. Yeah, I'll definitely. I'm always looking for new people to talk to.
Yes, yes. And I think is also the case when I've seen all your tech over teas that most, I have the feeling, were about gaming.
I'd
And
I've so I go through these periods where we have a lot of local indie game developers in my state. So I like to bring them on because, a lot of them they don't really get much coverage from people and I want to support like people that are doing cool stuff like in my own state. So I tend to do a lot of
yes,
those
great.
periods where I bring those people on.
Yes. So you are not alone. You are not alone, free software person, far away from all the others down there.
There's not a ton of free software stuff here. There is what is it? ICOMP that happens in Sydney, so there's at least that.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, so there's at least a conference one.
mm,
Is there was some conf.io,
yeah,
linux.conf.io?
yeah. There, I
So
believe that.
does this still exist?
I believe so. Let me see. Um, let I don't know. Maybe. Oh wait, maybe they. Oh, there is everything. There's everything open. Yeah, everything open was in. Oh, the next one is in my state actually. Okay, January. There's everything open. Maybe I'll have to go to that one.
Yes, yes. And how is that you still get your talk proposal in?
I don't know when their cutoff is. I'll have to
Or
take a
at
look
least
afterwards.
you can get in as content creator,
Mm.
that you could go there and then make a video about the conference.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah, I'll definitely have to have a proper look at that afterwards. Was there anything else you wanted to mention? Anything about open printing? Or are we?
Yes, yes. About open printing, I have already
Uh,
mentioned everything.
okay,
Uh,
okay.
yes, yes. And so thank you very much for this great interview.
I feel like you were talking most of the time. I don't know. I don't know how much of an interview it was.
Yes, a little bit. You have also, well, you were or also leading it into a certain direction.
Mhm. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes, probably I could also produce a YouTube video by myself
Mhm.
telling everything about open printing. Yes, for example, I have on many conferences, I've given a 45-minute talk about open printing.
Yeah, you're clearly very good at talking about open printing. There's a lot of history here, so there's definitely a lot to say.
Yes, yes, it's rare because when you see many other pieces of infrastructure of Linux, when you have Systemd. It did not start in 2000. It was much, much later when it started. There were other things before. And sound, I think in the beginning, the first thing was ALSA or so. And then there came, before Pipewire, there was Pulse Audio. And then there came Pipewire. There was switchovers and switchovers. What had the most longevity was naturally the kernel. The GNU tools had also, they're even longer because they came before, but they are going EOL now because there is in Ubuntu they got now oxidized, and perhaps the turned into Rust for these who do not know this word. There are other distros probably could take over, and then this gets replaced. And so what KDE and GNOME, they have also the same longevity. They started in the late 90s. So they have more longevity than OpenPrinting. Yes, but many things they switched several times during the time.
Well, Debian's still around. Debian's been around for a very long time now.
Yes, the distro Debian. The distros Debian, SUSE, and Red Hat. Yes, I was not thinking in whole distros.
Well, Red Hat, the company's been around, but they've kind of changed a couple of times because it was Red Hat Linux, and now we have Red Hat Enterprise Linux.
Yes. But this route has continued. They have named the version under development Fedora at a certain point, but it's probably more or less the same distro.
We're getting very side tangented away from ending the episode.
Yeah. Perhaps I will break the record again of producing the longest episode, as I probably did also with Destination Linux.
I don't actually know how long my longest one is. Yeah, I'm not actually sure, but we probably should be ending it off because I do want to get to sleep at some point. So I'll do my outro, and then
we do not do any performance and any competition of trying who of the two of us will stand longer time before falling asleep. Which would be a very
it's
bad
much earlier in the day for
situation
you.
because for you it's late. What?
Yeah, what is it, like 5:30 p.m. for you?
Yes.
Yeah,
For me,
I
it's
think you're gonna outlast
5:20
me.
p.m. What?
I think you're gonna outlast me staying awake.
Yes, I would. I think so.
Okay. Anyway, I'll do my outro and then we'll sign off.
Yes, great.
Okay, so my main channel is Brody Robertson. I do Linux videos there 6-ish days a week. Sometimes I also stream there as well. I have got the gaming channel, Brody on Games. Right now I'm playing through Yakuza 6 and Silksong. And if you're watching the video version of this, you can find the audio version on basically every podcast platform. Search Tech Over Tea. There is an RSS feed as well, so that's also cool. And the video is, of course, on YouTube. I will give you the final word. How do you want to sign off the episode?
Yes. I can only say one thing. Happy printing.
Awesome.